Okay, so for the first few problems are all calculator problems, and they're pretty straightforward. You're just going to hit the shift, sine, cosine, or tangent, depending on the function that they're asking for. Notice on number 26 it says no solution or not possible. The reason is remember arc sine it has to be between -1 and 1. This number right here. And this is less than -1, so it's not possible. And the reason for that is, remember, sine has this, the arc sine is this piece, so this is 1 and this is -1, so the value has to be between -1 and 1, and clearly -1.3 is outside of that, so no solution. The same thing with cosine, number 30, arc cosine. The graph looks like that. This is 1 and this is -1, and 5/3 is bigger than 1, so that's why that one's out. Number 32, I just wanted to show you when you're rounding, we're rounding to the nearest hundredth, so the second number after the decimal. So the next number is a 9, right? So that means that's going to go up. You add 1 here, so that makes it 0, which will make that 4 become a 5. So your final answer has to have 50 to show that you rounded to the nearest hundredth. Okay? For 54, it's tangent of arc tangent of 25. Now these two are inverse functions, tangent and arctangent, and if this number is within the specified range, then the answer is the answer here would be this number here. And for arctangent, this could be, if as long as it's a real number, then we're good. The answer is 25. Okay, 57 is the same thing. It's tangent inverse. These functions are inverse functions. As long as this is a real number, then we could just say the answer is that number. Okay, for 60, these are inverse functions, right? But unlike 54 and 57, where we were just able to copy that number on here, this number on here, this 4 pi over 3 is not within the range of the, of the arc sine. For arc sine, remember, it has to be between negative pi over 2 and positive pi over 2, and this is outside. So then we have to solve it in pieces, I guess you could call it. So we're going to calculate the sine of 4 pi over 3, and actually not even calculate, because it's a special angle. So you should know that like from memory, after reviewing the unit circle. So this is going to be arc sine of, remember, 4 pi over 3 is right here. So it's a 60 degree angle, sorry. So it's going to be in quadrant 3, negative radical 3 over 2. So now we're going to solve, okay, what's the arc sine of negative radical 3 over 2? So what angle gives you a sine ratio of negative radical 3 over 2? And to keep it within the 1 to 1, it has to be negative pi over 3. Okay? That way it's within the negative pi over 2 and positive pi over 2. Alright, so for 63, these are not inverses of each other. You've got sine inverse and tangent. But that's okay. We're going to again solve it like we did for 60. First, we're going to do what's in the parentheses. So tangent of 5 pi over 4, that's another angle in quadrant 3. So the tangent is positive, so it's going to be positive 1. And sine inverse of 1, the angle that will give me a ratio of 1 for sine would be pi over 2. Alright, so cosine of arc sine of 24 over 25, these are not inverses of each other. So we're going to do what's in the parentheses first. So we're going to find the angle that gives us a ratio of 24 over 25 for sine. In order to do that, though, we need to draw the angle. So there's the angle right there. And then we form the right triangle. So sine is y over r. And now we're going to solve for x. So using Pythagorean theorem, you do 25 squared minus 24 squared. That gives you 49. And so the square root of 49 is 7. Okay, so the cosine of this angle would be x over r, so that's 7 over 25. That's the answer. All right, for 69, it's sine of r cosine of negative 2/3. So the ratio for cosine is negative, right? Negative 2/3. Now, how do you know where to draw it? It could be quadrant 2 or quadrant 3, right? For cosine to be negative. But we know that for the restricted cosine, it has to be between 0 and pi. Okay, between 0 and pi. So between 0 and pi is up here quadrants 1 or 2. So for the negative ratio, it's going to be in quadrant 2. So that's how you know that it's not in quadrant 3. Cosine is x over r. So x r. Excuse me. So to find the y value, again Pythagorean theorem, so it's going to be 9 minus 4. That's 5, because a squared plus b squared is c squared. So 9 minus 4 is 5, so this is the square root of 5 because you take the square root. And so from here we find the sine. So the sine is y over r. So radical 5 over 3, and that's your answer. Okay, so remember we got this value from or x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Same thing. Okay, so 72, tangent and cotangent are reciprocals of each other, but we could go ahead and still draw the triangle. It's going to be in quadrant 1, or the angle, because it's in a positive number. So tangent is y over x, and we don't even need to find r in this problem because cotangent is x over y, and we already have that. 75, it's sine of our cosine of x plus 2. Okay, so for this one, cosine is positive, the ratio is positive, x plus 2, so we're going to draw it in quadrant 1. So there's the angle. Cosine is x over r, so this is going to be x plus 2. Now, you don't see a fraction there, right, in the ratio, but we could always put it like that, over 1. So that's r is 1. And we need y. So we're going to do, we'll call this y. We need that. So it's going to be x plus 2 squared. Pythagorean theorem. Nothing other than that. We're going to subtract the x plus 2 squared and put it on the other side. So y squared equals 1 squared minus x plus 2 squared. So then you take the square root of both sides. So y equals square root of 1 minus, now distribute or multiply out the x plus 2 squared, x squared plus 4x plus 4, and so distribute the negative, we get y equals square root of 1 minus x squared minus 4x minus 4, so I can combine these two, so finally y equals negative square root of negative x squared minus 4x minus 3. Okay, so when you want to find the sine of that angle, it's y over r, right? So it's going to be just this over 1. So we don't need the 1, so this is the answer. And that's it. We had a similar problem like this one where these were reciprocal. We had reciprocal functions, right? Tangent and cotangent are reciprocal. So again, it's in quadrant 1 because the ratio is positive. The definition of tangent is y over x. So for an x, we don't need to find r because cotangent is x over y. So this is equal x over 4. Alright, so 103 and 104 are already on the screen, and you have to say true or false. So even though the left side is true for both of them, there is nothing wrong with it. It's completely true. The inverse, though, is not, because this, for number 103, 5 pi over 6 is not within the negative pi over 2 and pi over 2, that 1 to 1 piece. And then for 1, tangent would have to be between negative pi over 2 and pi over 2 also, and this is outside. So for these to be true, I know it doesn't ask you to give the true one, right? But for this to be true, this would be pi over 6. and this would be pi over 4. So both of these are false. Okay, so for 106, you have the graph. You just look at your book, okay? The sine, arc sine is the red one, and the arc cosine is the blue one. So for part A, it's asking you where, from what interval is the red one below the blue one? And that would be between -1 and radical 2 over 2. Now -1 has a dot, so we're going to put a bracket, but to be strictly less than, we would have to put parentheses there. Okay? And then for arc sine and arc cosine to equal each other, that means where do the two graphs intersect? And they intersect at radical 2 over 2. And then to show that it's just that one number, we use those braces. Okay? And then arc sine greater than arc cosine. So that would be where is a red graph above the blue graph? So it goes from radical 2 over 2 to +1. Okay, and that would be the answer. So we're going to draw a right triangle to correspond to this ratio, tangent theta equals 2. Remember, tangent of theta is y over x. So it's turn the 2 into a fraction, so we put 2 over 1 to a ratio. So it's y over x. So that means r is 1 squared plus 2 squared, which is 5, square root of 5. Okay? So from that, we're going to find sine theta, cosine theta, tangent theta is already there, and then cosecant theta, secant theta, and cotangent theta. Okay, so sine theta is y over r, so 2 over radical 5. Oops, I need more space, so I'll just put it up here. So it's going to be 2 radical 5 over 5 when you rationalize it. For cosine is x over r, that's 1 over radical 5. So when you rationalize it, you get radical 5 over 5. Cosecant theta is a reciprocal of sine, so radical 5 over 2. Secant theta is a reciprocal of cosine, just radical 5. And cotangent is a reciprocal of tangent, so it's 1/2.